It's the baby Jesus.
Yeah, cousin. Cousin, can you hear me? I need the confirmation that you guys can hear me. We can hear.
Awesome.
Ah,
Yeah, we're live.
Thank you.
Dude, what, remember I told you I had a whole podcast studio?
Yeah.
The first episode, because me and Frenchy were supposed to start this podcast, we interviewed his wife. I interviewed Kim. We did a whole 3-hour video with no sound. We didn't find out till after the fact.
I know how that feels,
So,
cousin.
It's like, cool, we got this figured out in the first like 5 minutes. You know, you didn't pull
Yeah.
Leo.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Record 3 hours of content with no fucking sound.
Oh, dude. I don't know what's going on there. That's crazy. So, okay, let's make it official here. All right, guys, welcome. This is the Cannabis Evangelist Network. I'm your host, CousinNikolai. This is episode 61 with none other than Leo Stone from the legendary Aficionado of Humbolt. That's a seed company, guys. Okay, let's make it official. Action. All right. Look, I wrote your name there.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, and like child handwriting, whatever they say. Just kidding. Anyhow, it's yeah. Oh, yep. Let me get rid of this. Okay. Yeah, I got a little nervous there, cause I want to make sure you got that microphone. We're all good. Okay. Well, there you guys have it. You guys know this guy, right? Do you? Well, if you're on Instagram, you poke your head in over here, cousin. Yeah. Like, come here. Look. Wait for it.
Oh,
wait, it'll be delayed. Yeah, so there we are.
Yeah, it is delayed.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's here, really. You guys should go to YouTube and see full production value studio, which you'll get full frame, and I'll give you behind-scenes cameras, tight shots, and all that. So, yeah, you're really missing out if you're on the gram, guys. Yeah, you should go to CousinNikolai's YouTube over there, guys. Yeah, you'll find it. It's the only guy, CousinNikolai, with an underscore. All right, so, yeah. Well, if you guys do not know, this is Leo Stone of Aficionadoseeds out of Humboldt, California, guys. The legendary Mendocino County, Humboldt County, the Emerald Triangle. Maybe you've heard of it. If you haven't, well, you will now, because here's one of the legends of the Humboldt himself. That's what I'm understanding. You'll have to forgive me, cousin. I did do a little research on you prior to this. I see that you had a little something with the Frenchy Cannoli on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I seen you had a podcast out there. You're doing some podcasts. So I watched a little bit of, to know a little bit about you, but I would really like for yourself just to introduce yourself to the newbies like your cousin Nikolai here that are following along that maybe see this recording months or years later on YouTube. And you just go ahead and have the table or forum to go ahead and lay it out for yourself. How's that for pressure?
No, it's good. Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, welcome.
I'm just, I think like everybody else, just still happy to be in the weed game. You know, I got really lucky. I think it comes down to like I was at the right place at the right time. You know, the guy that brought me into weed and was kind of like my weed father, my mentor. He was, you know, an old deadhead, toured with the Dead, hitchhiked out to Mendocino in 1978, ended up making it big, and I ended up being his head of security when he opened up a dispensary down in San Diego with Eddie Lepp. Mm-hmm. Eddie Lepp is a pivotal figure in California cannabis history, and he's one of the ones who's around in 95, 96, helping push Prop 215, which ushered in, you know, the whole medical legalization side of things. And so, you know, shout out Eddie Lepp, shout out OG Mike, Mendo Mike up in Mendocino. That's where I got my start. So, you know, being with Mike, he was really one of those guys where when I first came to his property, he said, hey, look, you know, you could either grow a whole lot of weed, you know, and if you want to grow a lot of weed and make a lot of money, you know, you could go next door to Jer's, and I'll introduce you to Jer. But if you want to grow like the best possible weed, if you want to grow quality weed, you want to dedicate your life to fucking quality, I can't really pay you much, but I'll teach you a lot. And stay here, you can go to fucking Jer's. So I was like, I'll ride with you till the fucking wheels fall off. It was the best decision I ever made. Worked here from him with 2 seasons, and then, you know, after that, went on my own. He let me get my own, and I won the Emerald Cup back in 2012, my first Emerald Cup. And we've been placing in cups every year since. And I owe all that to OG Mike, and my brother is the one who introduced me to OG Mike, because my brother was his head of security. You know, I come from a fighting family. You know, my sister does jiu-jitsu. My brother was a pro fighter. You know, I was in the Army. I was fighting. And but nothing on the level of my sister and my brother were like winning competitions and shit.
Oh, they're really into it.
Yeah, they're like super into it. So, you know, him being my OG Mike's head of security, and then me being the head of security, I was fresh out of the army, dude. I still had like a high and tight. You know, he was like, "Are you good with a gun?" Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, of course. I'm fresh. I was in Iraq like 8 months ago." You know?
I was just firing it.
So I was like, wasn't scared of anything, and you know that gave me a lot of courage to go up to Mendo because you know back in the day, 2009, 2010, Mendo was still a fucking dangerous place, and you know, and there was gangsters from Vallejo coming up to Mike's property back in the day, trying to collect money, because when we got shut down, our dispensary got shut down. I mean, we were cuffed, and the sheriffs came in. San Diego County Sheriff's Office came in, was cleaning everything out, fucking pouring all the bud out in the bags, all the money, all the envelopes of money that we had, divvied up to pay different vendors, like all that was gone, and it was documented because it was in the paper that Star of San Diego and North Park gets raided, blah blah blah, gets shut down, and the people were looking for money when we got back at the Mendo, and so it was a pretty dangerous spot.
You mean the gangsters would come up and try to strong arm people?
But they attempted,
they come up and like just demand or just
rob?
They
would attempt to come up, yeah. But I was really ornery back in the day. I mean, I was willing to do anything. I was willing to do anything it fucking took, no matter the risk. I mean, I just came out of a fucking war zone. My first appointment was 16 months, so I was like completely comfortable being in like really austere environments. Like I lived next to a black oak, this big oak tree for the first 3 weeks I was on the property. I slept next to my rifle. He stood me there by the gate on this hill that overlooked the gate, and I kind of just slept there for like the first 3 weeks, just firing shots, warning people. Just basically warning people. Don't come down here, or you're gonna get dealt with in a serious way. So that's really my start. Before I was Leo Aficionado in Laytonville, I was known as Leo the Crazy War Vet, because I was like, I was like shooting my rifle all the time on Mike's property. Then when I got my own property, the property that I originally had was like, it used to be a meth lab, and so when the tweakers got ran out of the property, this lady's like, "Look, I need someone to occupy this property, or the sheriff's going to seize my property. Can you keep these tweakers off? I'll make you a good deal. It's 160 acres. The price is this. We could do a lease to own thing." I was like, "Fuck yeah. You need me to keep tweakers off your property?"
No problem.
And they know. So I was just, the whole valley, I didn't know. I kind of came up with this presupposition that Mendo's like this lawless land, crazy place. But then, like, it was actually really, Long Valley was like really a pretty quiet place. Everyone's got guns, but I mean, I just like went ham. Everyone's like da 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 da, and everyone's like, "Oh, there goes fucking crazy Leo on the hill," popping off again. So that's really like, I really never talked about that part of my my entrance into cannabis before on other podcasts. I think if you go on YouTube or SoundCloud, it's not something I've always been proud of, but then it's something that I've kind of embraced, because it's like, yeah, I paid that price to get into the weed game. Shooting tweakers off the property, protecting OG Mike, keeping the bad flavors from Vallejo coming from strong arming us. And so, and it was worth it. It was worth, that's the only reason why I'm sitting here. I was willing to risk everything to have a shot at, being in cannabis. I didn't grow up in cannabis. I've always looked up to people that were born into the game or came from money and had enough money to kind of like, my first year in Mendo, I made like probably $1,800. And then my second year on Mike's, I made a little more money. And I remember buying this old 85 Suburban, like this old diesel piece of shit Suburban. And, that was the first truck that I had in Mendo. And I bought that truck for like $2,000, all broken and fucked up. And so I literally came from the bottom and nothing to, we're still trying to make our way in cannabis, but I'm just still happy to be here because there was a lot of sacrifice. And then next thing you know, 2 years after the fact, we're winning cups, and I owe it to Tim Blake and the Emerald Cup for like really just launching my career and then giving me the opportunity. So
there's so many backstories to a lot of I'll say you guys, not me, but the people in cannabis really that have been growing for so long. I know that a lot of people in the industry know of these stories and know of it, but a lot of us that are new to cannabis, right, don't know these stories. But yeah, there's so many of you guys were doing things. It was all illegal. Everybody had, if you're watching this and you're new to it, it was so illegal that these guys were hiding out on farms, in the mountains, in the woods, all over. There's so many. There's so many stories like yours, Leo. Probably imagine as it opens up in every state and every country as we go forward with cannabis becoming more mainstream or legal or adopted medically. We're gonna hear more of these stories of the people that were the OGs, that were sacrificing so much for the plant, for themselves, for their people that they were growing for. Um, but you really can't get a clear picture of it until you see the documentary. I'm sure people have heard of the Murder Mountain documentary that was going around.
Oh, that was funny when that came out, because
Yeah.
it really the locals. I was living on Murder Mountain at the time. I actually Alder Point. I live 20 miles past Murder Mountain in this place called Blocksburg, and we were out in Blocksburg when Murder Mountain came out, and a lot of the locals were like, "Oh, they're painting Murder Mountain to be so bad." The people that kind of lived in town, but everybody who lived there is like, "Bro, it's worse.
It's worse than they're saying.
That's not even as bad as it gets. Like, you have no clue the shit. Like, those are the murders that you know about.
Yeah, those are the stories they talk about, and it's all the other stories that people don't say.
I mean, it's really, you have to be. You have to be a wolf. I mean, back in the day, you had to be a wolf out there. You're either a nail or you're a fucking hammer. I mean, if you're out in, Alder Point, Blocksburg, I mean, you're an hour and a half away, 2 hours, depending on what road you are, an hour and a half, 2 hours away till the cops just get to you. So after the cops find out that they have to come, and it takes them an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to you. So if someone wants to rob you and you living off Alder Point Road, you get robbed. They could escape down 36. They could get back to the 101. They could go down Bell Springs Road, hit Island Mountain Road, and be in fucking Cove Low in a couple hours. They could be out Kenton Palm. You go through Kenton Palm and you either get to Cove Low from Kenton Palm or you get to the I-5. So you could literally rob. A lot of robberies happened out there. So that was really what was dangerous. It wasn't dangerous necessarily because the people that lived there. It was because we lived in this like underground industry that invited a lot of unsavory characters. A lot of buyers would come in, alleged buyers, and those are the guys that would rob you. Or you'd have a legit buyer come in and they'd buy some packs, and next thing you know, like, now they know where you live. If you were dumb, they would come to your farm. But all the best growers, all the legit growers in in Humboldt, they had their grow on the mountain and they had their house in town. And you did all your sales at the house in town. And I could talk about this because that fucking industry is dead. If anyone's getting mad at me in Mendo and Humboldt, it's like, bro, everyone left. It's like, it's not like that anymore. It used to be like that. But the facts are, it's like, no one's buying 1,000-pound outdoor anymore. When fucking indoor is moving in Michigan, when you could buy a pound of indoor for $600, no one's going to be paying fucking $300-$400 for your outdoor no more. Unless you're really good and you have a brand. So it's just, times change. We were talking about that earlier. It's like, it's not at the same world it was.
No, it's, I believe, the legalization brings bureaucracy, and then that just squeezes everybody out. It's happened with the gold rush back in every industry it happens to. It's nothing new. It's worse for cannabis because so many people have been so underground with it, or illegal, and it becomes legal, and they want to get into it, and it's a pay to play, this world we live in. We're the only species that has to pay to live here on the planet, and so they put a high cost to everything. It's really sucks that bureaucracy brings bullshit. Honestly, it's ruined everything, I think.
The regulations ruin everything. The tax structure ruins everything, and I think, like, this is the conspiracy theorist part of me, but I really think it's in these big corporate Chad outfits' best interest to kind of split, create dissent and consternation in our community. It's like, we're already an ornery people. As being on Instagram, it's like, cannabis people are vocal. They're real vocal. They're really emotional, and they talk a lot of shit. But I think, I try to look at the positive in all that, and the positive and the beauty that I see in all that is it's a byproduct of our nature, because you're dealing with a community, especially the community that came into this before legalization. Like, all these guys, for years, they did what they wanted to do and didn't and wasn't scared of going to jail. They had no problem risking their freedom for weed and risk going to jail. So if they're willing to risk going to jail, then they're willing to, then of course they're going to fucking speak their mind. And of course they're going to. So I think that's a beautiful part of our community. When people go, oh, our community's really salty. Yeah, it is really salty. But I think it comes up from a beautiful place that, when you have a bunch of people that came from, the outlaw community, not scared to go to jail, then these guys aren't going to be scared to back down from a fight.
No.
And so I think, but at the same time, that's kind of the weak link in our chain where people outside of their industry could judge us adversely because of that and be like, oh, obviously you guys are acting like a bunch of thugs and a bunch of kids, and that opens up opportunities for, large multi-state operators and these big corporations to take advantage of that and start capturing market share with the moms and pops and the grannies and the people that go to dispensaries that don't know any better, that aren't a part of our culture. Because when you think about it, like our culture, the weed culture, is very fucking infinitesimal part of the broader spectrum of the whole weed world. It's like, we're like a fraction of a percentage of all the people in the world that smoke weed.
Right.
When you look at the actual weed community itself,
right.
It's like, and corporations know that. They know that their entire addressable market is the rest of the world outside of the weed community. And I think that's something that, I've only started to wake up to and realize in the recent years. And it's just crazy how things change. And so like, I'm coming to these thoughts, just trying to understand, why is shit changing so much? Why are so many of the outlaw people getting left behind? And why are these multi-state operators able to grow at these exponential rates, but also not just grow at exponential rates, but stay in the game? When so many of us outlaws are getting washed out of the game. So this is just these thought processes I come to, and just trying to reason, what's causing, this phenomenon to happen.
You make some good points there, cousin. Truly, the renegades and cowboys. It was a wild west, and these people did put their lives and families and livelihoods on the line for this plant. So yeah, you could see how they would be so vocal and bitter to see it change and squeeze so many of them out, when we all know that, and a lot of people do not know, when it went legal, it takes 6 months really to bring a harvest, 4 to 6 months. If you cure it, right? We can grow it in 3 to 4, right? But you got to cure it, but they don't. But anyhow, so, for the first year, they relied on the caregiver market, the legacy caregiver growers, to be able to introduce this cannabis flower into the legal dispensaries that were coming on scene. And then shortly after that, they changed the law once again that would not allow these legacy or caregiver growers to introduce their cannabis flower into the legal market. They closed the door on them and just shut them all out. And that's what happened here in Michigan, and it changed overnight. I started this CousinNikolai adventure at HydroPros, where I was learning to grow like a pro, like you guys. And I saw it was like those old shows of the Gold Rush, of the Klondike, where everybody was, they were selling the shovels at the bottom of the mountain. Everybody was getting their shovels and to go up there. And I look at this grow store, and it was like that. They were just all coming to grow. And then like that, it changed, right?
Yeah, now the grow stores aren't really making
No grow stores. Everybody's selling their grow equipment on Facebook Marketplace.
If you want to buy cheap grow equipment,
I've got a $2,800 1,000 watt brand new light from Photon Tech that they sponsored me with last year, and then they went crickets on me and everybody. And yeah, that's a big light there for big boy growing. And it's not worth doing anymore.
They went out of business, right? Did they?
Not yet, but I would imagine it's not looking so good for so many lighting companies. When you had Gavitas at what, 1,600 a pop, now they're 600.
Yeah,
right. Those big lights. But yeah, so much has changed, and you could see why so many of the people that are in the industry are a little bit salty, as you say, or surly, and very outspoken about what is changing in their industry. And it seems like now more than ever, if you are part of the community, there's a line that your cousin Nikolai has been walking, of the legacy caregiver, medical card holders and the, you know, recreational or everyday users. And so if it wasn't meeting you OGs, you legacy growers and that, and you're really not, because you're so
no.
young
OG
yourself.
Mike's an OG.
Yeah, the guy's older than me.
T-Dog the artist
Right.
is an OG.
Yeah,
Those
the
are
dudes in their
OGs,
60s and 70s, those are true OGs.
The real gangsters.
Right. Yeah, you don't even know their names because they didn't have
Yeah.
social media to give a shit about being popular, right? So we don't even know unless you tell their stories. But yeah, no doubt there's a line, and yeah, I'm trying to find out about it and learn. And I thought it was going to be such a great thing, the legalization and dispensaries, because let's face it, there needs to be access points to cannabis, no doubt, because not everybody's going to come over to your house and get a sack or, you know, a bag, right? Grandma or my mama is not going to come over to your house and she's not going to feel comfortable looking at the flower in the Ziplocs. However, I think, like Michael Fang say, the best flour comes in Ziplocs.
Everything, yeah, best flowers come in Ziplocs, the best seeds come in a Ziploc.
Yeah, none of this fancy pants shit. Anyhow, that's a little bit of my take on it. I appreciate your backstory there of Humboldt and that.
No, right on, man. Thanks for allowing me to share. It's pretty cool.
So let's transition into how you get into the seed game, cousin.
Well, Mike was always making seeds.
Okay.
That's, you know, the upside of working for OG Mike and learning his grow style. And he was like, hey, part of growing the best possible weed is you're, you know, either curating or creating the genetics so you could facilitate that kind of expression. And when he says, when you facilitate that kind of expression, it's a kind of weed expression that just kind of sets you apart from the rest of the market. You know, different terp profile, different buzet profile, different resin profile, and that kind of goes all into like your genetic selection. You know, he taught me that you know, the difference between a $30 steak and a $300 steak comes down to three things: ingredients, technique, timing. He said weed's the same way. It's selection, technique, and timing. So the selection of your ingredients, selection of your inputs that you're using in your grow, the selection of your property, because we were outdoors at the time. So it's like the sun exposure, right? The selection of your property goes into the sun exposure, the nuances in weather and microclimates that you have on your property throughout the season. And you can say the same thing for indoor growers, like the selection of, you know, your environmental controls, the location where you're at, where, you know, how much are you going to spend on HVAC? Your HVAC costs, if you're growing in fucking Arizona, is going to be a lot different than you're growing in Michigan, right? You're going to spend a lot less. Then you have like your technique and your timing, the technique and how you're, you know, taming your environment, the technique and how you're expressing your genetics, the technique of applying when you're applying your food or your nutrients. And then the timing, and the timing of everything is super crucial. You know, the timing of planting, of when to feed, when not to feed, when to leaf, when not to leaf, you know, all that. So, you know, those three pillars of ingredients, you know, technique and timing go into like also your genetic selection. And then when it came down to that, you know, seeing how Mike was known for like golf ball fucking nugs. He never had smalls in his pounds. He pruned his plants. I mean, this dude was growing like five. You know, a small plant from was like 5 pound plant, but he was growing like 7 to 10 pound plants on average.
Wow.
And all the buds that came off this plant, because he would prune them up so nicely, like all the buds are like boom, straight up fucking golf balls. So you get a fucking turkey bag, just a straight golf balls back in the day of just like some of the frostiest weed. And he'd have a lot of people from the music industry that was coming to his property, his super humble property, in Mendo, just paying top dollar for his weed. And a lot of that was, you know, attributed to not just because he was growing, you know, with organics and is building his living soil for, you know, 20 years or so, but it was also how he was creating his genetics. You know, he took some of my seeds, this pink lychee, and it looks 10 times better than how I made it. Yeah. So it's like and that's just his magic. And so I was really lucky to, you know, be, if it wasn't for OG Mike and I had went with Jer, you know, back in the day and just grown like huge packs, you know, grown acres, huge depths, you know, since the beginning, and not really focus on the quality, then I wouldn't have learned, you know, I wouldn't have had the path where I learned genetics, you know, the way, you know, OG Mike taught me. And then, you know, I was literally standing on, you know, the shoulders of giants and fucking wizards. You know, you had OG Mike was a wizard. You know, Shiloh Massive was a big, he was a huge influence to me back in the day. You know, Shiloh was, partnered with Kyle Cushman back in the day, and they kind of coined the term veganics. And still to this day, the weed that used to come out of Shiloh's rooms back in like 09, 2010, 2011, still this day, some of the best fucking best weed, hands down, I've ever seen in my entire life. And this guy was growing living soil, veganic based nutrients, top dressed amendments, making teas with Malibu compost. And, he was also breeding and making seeds. And one of the first strains that he bred was called this Adonai Kush. And I remember looking in Cannabis Indica. Remember those books, Cannabis Sativa? They were all about the strains. Him and Kyle's, the genetics were in there. It was the Adonai Kush was one of the best. So was Fangs, the Grape Stomper.
Oh,
Grape
the
Stomper.
legendary.
And that
the
was
$10 million cut.
Fucking crazy. Yeah. When the market matures, I think someone's gonna pay.
There's a buyer out there for everything.
If you're gonna pay, $3 to $5 million for a car, that it could either hold value or slightly appreciate in value as time goes on. It's like, what if you buy a cut for $1 million or $100,000, but then it ends up grossing you millions, over the span of however long that strain has viability or durability in the market, right? So, I thought it was crazy because, like, I think Fang's a genius in that respect when he made the post. Dude played everybody in the fucking cannabis. Everybody who went on his page to talk shit or to voice how they felt. It's like, dude, he's playing you right now, bro.
No, well, that was the whole. It's shock value. If you can't figure that
value
out, it's called it's called shock value.
But when you smell his bags too,
have you seen it? You've seen his cultivars. He's upper echelon grower. Yeah. He's upper echelon.
Yeah, we have a lot of roots too in Mendo. His old business partner, Alan Atkinson, was my old business partner, where he got the cherry pie kush seeds. That was like right next to my property.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a lot of our genetics have a lot in common. I never really worked with Alan's cherry pie kush, which was also Eddie Lepp's cherry pie kush, but they got that from this guy named St. George and Willits, which is, as the story is told, this guy St. George and Willits, who owns the rock shop. Go to the gem shop in Willits right next to the fucking Mariposa health food store. That's owned by this guy named St. George. He's one of the most underrated, legendary breeders in Mendo history, and it's argued that he created the cherry pie kush, amongst other things. But I remember seeing the CPK seeds in Allen's vault, and then when I saw Fang get a hold of them, like 2014, 2015, or I think it was probably before that, I was like just blown away. I was like, oh man, they're gonna kill it. They're gonna and then they crushed it. Like they killed it. Like they came out with that. The Mendo Breath came out. Their cherry pie kush crosses came out. And love him or hate him, it's like, dude, he's done a lot more to alter the landscape of cannabis as far as designer genetics is concerned than a lot of other people. He's up there with like Seed Junkie Jay Beasy, Archive, some of the greats, Canorado, and a lot of these legendary breeders, like Fang was there putting on, like when I was, drooling over the Adonai Kush and Cannabis Indica and kind of like, fanboying out when I first met Shiloh. It's like, dude, Fang was already in that book with Grape Stomper OG. And it was the frostiest fucking plant in the book, like the whole book. If you go through that old book, you're just like, it's the frostiest one. It's like, what? And that's really, I think, what was responsible for getting, people to really desire Grape Stomper OG or Grape Stomper on a different level. It's like when you saw the pictures of it, it was like fucking crazy. Like people weren't used to seeing this shit like that back in the day.
Wow. To hear it coming from secondhand, I've heard Michael's, he's very humble when he speaks to me. And, to hear it coming from you and that, I really didn't know. He gave me a cut of the Great Stomper last year to give to Miss Kay. I grow with my neighbor right over there. Maybe you'll get to see her when we leave. And so every year we kind of grow a plant. And last year he gave me the grape, and I didn't know. I've heard of Grape Stomper, but I didn't know. I don't know anything. And then he tells me, cousin, that's like a $10,000 cut. And I was like, well, really? I do it, but I only got like $10 in my pocket, cousin. And he's like, well, of course you don't have to pay, but no, the value, we don't really get this cut away. And then then I started taking it around the city in my little trailer downtown Detroit, and just showing people that, look, you recognize the plant. And I would tell people it's the Grape Stomper. And then in the comments, they're like, dude, you're going around town with like a multi-$1,000 cotton, like aren't you scared? And I was like, well, I don't think anybody really knows. But yeah, I had no idea that I was traveling around Detroit with, the legendary grape stomper. And anyhow,
Back in the day, that was normal, 5 to 10,000 a cut.
right.
It's crazy to people right
People don't
now.
understand.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to make this point before, is because this Sherbinsky guy, this guy Sherbinsky, and he did that. He sold to one of the big brands, his genetics to one of the big brands. I won't make mention of names, but this was in the very beginning in Michigan when it was becoming legal. So these genetic breeders like yourself, or that. They did have to put high prices on their genetics because of, how do you say, intellectual property. You could right, you guys have put time into these genetics and to get them to this level.
Fresh Coast Ross still does that,
right?
He still charges, like, for the cuts that nobody has. If you really want access to it, you're gonna pay thousands for snips, but it's gonna work out for you in the end, right? Sure. If you're a large enough grow with a certain economy of scale, right, and you're moving all your pounds, you have extra regular fucking gelato. You have 100 pounds of extra regular gelato indoor, moving on the market at 1,200. All right, cool. You're grossing 120. Okay, now you pay 6 to 8 grand for this cut, right? It's something that people want. Mm-hmm. It looks better than that gelato, right? It washes. It brings more value. That next thing you know, that 100 pounds is moving on the market anywhere from 15 to 1,800. So it's like you're grossing. If you look at the difference, you're grossing another 30 to 50 grand extra just based on the difference of your genetic selection. So it's like, hey, that $6,000 to $8,000 investment has already paid for itself in the first round, right? And if it's got that kind of viability, and so like that's really where the value of genetics comes down to. And that's like, I've paid $10,000 a cut back in the day for the top. Remember, you were living in Tahoe. I paid 10 grand for Tahoe OG, and that was back when the best possible depths was moving at like 22, 24, and then everybody else was selling their depths for like 17 or 18 in Mendo back in the day. It's like I remember selling Blackberry Kush for 17 to 18 back in the day, and then I remember paying 10 racks for a fucking Tahoe OG. And then I sold all those packs for 24. So it's like I was making $600 more a pound on 100 pounds. So it's like I'm grossing an extra 60 grand on something I paid, I've already paid for it 6 times now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But that was like, economics of back in the day. Now it's like those economics are only afforded by these larger grows that have this kind of economy of scale to be able to put X amount of product on and realize a return on their investment a lot quicker than, say, your home grower that's got 5 to 20 lights that's not going to realize that kind of return because the price has dropped out of the fucking market, as you've seen. Price dropped in the market. A lot of people are walking out of the cannabis market right now. Hydro shops are closing down left and fucking right. You know what I mean? The money's drying up right now, so it's a different game. But if you're in genetics like what Fang's doing, where there's these big companies like Fang and Ross, where these big fucking facilities are like, dude, they'll pay that for a cut because it's worth it for them, and they need that. They need guys like that because it's like if you're growing extra regular shit on the market, you're gonna fucking make extra regular ass money. But if you have something that's truly phenomenal and that stands itself apart, then that's really what's gonna help make brands these days. Like before, it's like the growers and then dispensaries had all the power. Now the brands are gonna have the power. It's like people are becoming more. And it's like food, right? Like how the conscious food movement's starting to grow, and people are starting to become more discerning about, healthy food and the nutrients and organic food that comes in the body. You're starting to see that same kind of, bell curve occur in cannabis, where people are starting to become more conscious of their cannabis, and they're starting to demand certain cannabis. Where's my electric peanut butter cookies? Where's my fucking grape stomper OG? I'm tired of the gelato. I'm tired of extra regular OG. You know what I mean? I love OG. So. Nothing to my OG lovers out there. I'm sorry. I love OG, but I'm just saying, it's like if you smoke fucking 100 pounds of OG, you get tired of it a little bit, and you want some electric peanut butter cookies or some aqua from fucking Gage Green,
right,
or some fucking Rainbow Larry that I that I make, So it's definitely a different fucking world right now, bro. Yeah, genetics is crazy.
Yeah, people need to remember that when these guys are putting high price tags. They're not just for us everyday 10th growers. They're just, this is the upper echelon of cannabis guys. So it doesn't surprise me that people like yourself or Michael or anyone else out there that are doing this for a living and a brand and building that brand, why wouldn't they have a different price structure that takes it to different levels?
But a lot of work goes into it. You know, you
Oh,
have your seed.
popping thousands of
Yeah,
seeds,
you know,
right?
like you said, like we were talking about seed companies, and you're like, I don't fucking know. There's so many different seed companies out there. A
I
lot of,
can't keep up,
yeah,
really.
there's a lot of pollen chuckers out there, a lot of new breeders. Doesn't mean that they're horrible, but it's like when you look at, people that have been doing this as long as, myself, Mean Gene, Ross from Fresh Coast, Fang. It's like, you know, we've been doing this for a long time to the point where your investment in the game, it's like if you grow, like let's say you grow, and you get your facility, you get your products, like you said, in like 6 to 9 months, you're turning a profit, you're selling pounds. But when you're fucking breeding, dude, like the timeline on when you could actually realize any kind of like it's like so you have your short-term profits. I'm going to make the cross, I'm going to sell it, make the cross 1 year, I'm going to sell it the next year, I'm going to test it the next year, and then 2 to 3, 4 years down the line, then you'll see if that strain has any durability or longevity or legs on the market. So you really don't know what your investment is going to be for like another 12 to 24 months, sometimes years, if it's taken you a while to work certain strains. So it's like it's different for it's easy for growers to go, oh, these guys are charging 100, 200, $300 a seed pack, but you're not seeing like the $30,000 fucking soil bill. You're not seeing
Right.
us eat 2 or 3 indoor rounds of not making any money just because we have to test this thing out and test its durability and its viability as being a stable genetic. Are we always going to make hits? Just like it's like genetics, like music, you're not going to make a fucking hit every time, but if you put your heart and your soul into it and you actually love it, then you have a better chance of succeeding than someone who's literally just in it for the money and not for the love of the game.
It's true, everyone. The heart and what you put into it, the longevity, it will last if you stick with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the pollen chuckers. I've heard that term before. It makes
Yeah,
me
but
chuckle.
I can't hate on them too much.
Well, everybody
We
wants
all
to get.
start somewhere.
Sure, sure. But they're not the ones like they're taking different genetics and they're just combining them, where a lot of these names that they're using were, years and years of building in that, right?
Yeah,
The
I mean the
genetics.
gene pool is so improved now, in my opinion, that pollen chucking is the safest it's ever been. Like when I first started, if you were gonna pollen chuck, you were taking a fucking risk, bro.
Why is
You
that?
know what I mean? Because like back when I first started, it's like chems were big on the market, OGs were big on the market, sours are big on the market. Traditionally sours and chems are pretty fucking unstable. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They need a little bit more work when you breed with them. You better fucking have that shit on point. You better test out the progeny to know if it's like, is it a true herm or does it stress out easy?
Mm.
Where you're going to get a male flower popped off late, like mid flower or late flower. And that's for some people, that's okay. It's like, all right, cool. I just got to make sure I'm on it. I don't stress the plant out too much. And it's like, but for now, it's like there's so many. I mean, you could literally, I say this almost every podcast. I could close my eyes, take 100 packs right now from 100 different seed companies. You put a thumbtack on them on your wall, put a blindfold on, throw a fucking dart, and chances are, whatever seed pack you hit, you're gonna find some fucking fire in them. Just because a lot of people are working with just the way the
Mm.
gene pool has become. Is like when you look at Mendo Breath, like we'll use Mendo Breath, or we'll look at Gorilla Butter, which made white truffle. It's like anything that white truffle or Gorilla Butter hits makes it frosty as fucking fire. Anything that Mendo Breath hit or Peanut Butter Breath hit, which all came from fucking Fang, it's like it's fire.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So if you're using those genetics that have this kind of value, like you're going to have a good chance of putting something out that's not going to necessarily fuck. But I'm not trying to make a case for people who are doing unscrupulous, just seed making. I'm making a case that genetics, for the most part, the gene pool has become a lot better, over the years. Granted, we've lost some really exciting flavors, like your old school sours are starting to make a comeback because they're more rare. The cheese, people are starting to. I love cheese. It's one of my favorite strains. Yeah. I just got the cheese cut back. I'm really excited about it. So but I would argue, there's more really good seed. Back in the day, you had to spend a lot of money to get really good seeds. Now you can you could just go to any seed bank. If you know what you're looking for, it doesn't need to be a big breeder, but you could find some fire, So I always try to make a case for the smaller breeders, man, because I think a lot of the smaller breeders end up being, big breeders one day.
Oh, sure. I'm working with one of them right now. I'll make mention because, you got to throw the shout outs and support, especially when I have someone of your level here. But yeah, I took some of the up and coming Michigan breeders that I met as CousinNikolai along the way, and Smiley's Angels was one of them, and I have his genetics. He's got the Subcool, Subcool,
wow, yeah,
right? So Smiley and
those,
right? So he's got the Jack Skellington cross with the Jack Skellington that he was doing
keeping it
his
alive.
pollen chucking or whatever.
No,
he's keeping it alive. But yeah, he does.
That's awesome.
Right. So Smiley, shout out to you, cousin, if you're watching, because I'm growing it. I'll show you when we're done with the podcast. I ended up with 2 plants out of the 8 because a lot were males, and then I had to make my selection. But so I've got the Smileys and the next up and coming Michigan breeder, which is Leaf Cycle Private Reserve, and I'm growing his Chiquita 99, and this is a little package.
Nice.
Isn't that nice? Looky. Yeah, I'd shout out to the Leaf Cycle Private Reserve, cousin. Yeah, and
nice.
Yeah, so I grew the Star Line. His turned out to be male, so I didn't that. And then, the Jack Skellington. But, yeah, so
That's
there
really
are
nice.
some, I don't know, where was I going with? Oh, yeah, I was just bringing some up-and-coming breeders to it. Yeah, so
that's awesome.
I've been to his grows, and the reason I meet him is because of his pictures on Instagram, and he was little area, right? But on camera, it looks bigger than it is, but very small grower, right? But what he was growing was just beautiful. And I went to his grow, and you could tell his environment's all clean. It's like he's really doing something. Like this is a guy that if he sticks with it, his breeding and his genetics, and if sticks with it long enough, he'll be there, I think. But there's so many good genetics, like you say.
Grow sometimes better shit. You're more taxed for space.
Sure.
Right? So if you're going to allocate a certain amount of space towards your workable canopy, like you need to be really fucking on point with, I need to have really good chances of this, turning out really well, or I just lost X many months of work because I only have X amount of space. And, I think a good case in point for that is, I'm not, my home and where I found my crowd after being in the Emerald Triangle was always Humboldt. Humboldt's where my heart is. That's where we changed the name from Aficionado Mendocino to Aficionado Humbolt, because they welcomed me with open arms there. But the reason why I bring that up is I think pound for pound, the best breeders, come from Mendocino versus Humboldt. I'm not taking anything away from guys like Humboldt Seed Company, Nat. The dude's a fucking wizard. Caleb from CSI Humboldt is probably hands down the best feminized guy in the world. But when you look at breeders from Mendo, like fucking Shiloh, where Gage Green was starting, Mean Gene. I got my start in Mendo. OG Mike, Black Sheep Genetics. These are guys that, ITAL Foundation. These are dudes that, really put on as breeders for the Emerald Triangle because their work is just cut above. And the reason why we see that is because Humboldt was more of a production region. Back in the day, you could have, back when it was medical, you could have, 99 plants per parcel. So if you had 4 parcels, you could grow fucking 400 plants. If you're growing monsters, 5 pounds a plant, that's a lot of weed. You're growing like 2,000 pounds at that point.
Wow.
And but versus Mendo, you could only grow 25 plants a parcel, right? And so if you have 4 parcels, you only grow 100 plants. If you're getting a 4 or 5 pound plant, you're lucky if you get fucking 400 or 500 pounds. So the economy, as far as the money that you could generate back in the day, you were limited by how much you could grow. But because you were limited by how much you could grow, you're limited by what you could select, right? So in Humboldt, if you were smart and you were breeding back in the day like Nat, You know, you had all these different parcels, and you could select from hundreds or thousands of fucking plants, right? And where the risk wasn't as great. But in Mendo, the risk was fucking gnarly. And camp was no joke. The campaign against marijuana planting, the sheriffs were no joke in the choppers. Your plant counts had to be fucking on point or hid under the trees in the manzanitas. And because we were so taxed for space, I think that when you're starting with a smaller population of plants, you're really forced to be super discerning on what you're selecting, so you can increase your chances of success.
Sure.
And I forgot to mention another Humboldt badass breeder, Rebel Grown. Damn, fucking hats off to you. You're the exception, bro, if you're listening. But when it comes back to Mendo, in the case for smaller growers putting out quality, is that when you're taxed for space, then you become extra discerning on what you're going to allocate, and you make sure, like right now, we're breeding indoors. You know, we're doing large scale seed production in Colombia, but a lot of my selection isn't happening outdoors anymore. The seed production's happening. My selection's happening indoors now because we built it indoor out here in Michigan. So the space that I'm used to working is a lot different. So I probably like drove myself crazy for 3 months, just like going through the vault, thinking about what I'm going to pick, because I have one or two chances to make this work. And I think all the other small growers in tents or that don't have a lot of lights feel the same way. That's like, that really want to make seeds. Like, I need to fucking make this work because I only have so much space. If I was still back in Humboldt, doing huge selections, it's like, now I can't. Even if I was still physically, like, I still make seeds with my boys there, but it's like, now that everyone's left Humboldt, I just can't fucking select 3 or 5,000 plants anymore. It's like I stick out like a sore thumb because now I'm the only guy on the mountain growing fucking 3 or 4 or 5,000 plants. So right. I think I make a huge case for smaller growers because I think they're the guys that are going to put the fire out and that are going to end up changing the game in the future.
Especially if everybody's getting out of it, it'll be like, I thought I would build a room. I did the room, and where I'm going to end up is with a tent or two, and just growing a couple plants personally for myself, and to hone that, to start with the genetics, and that's my biggest thing. Is I've got the one run left in here for before summer kicks off. I can't grow in the indoors here in the house; it gets too hot, but I want to have good genetics, not fuck it around. And the time that I put into these 2 plants is all the time I'm putting.
Keep growing this, you're gonna be just fine, bro.
Yeah, thanks. Let's really bring them up. Let's bring them up for everybody. Good. Yeah, tell everybody what you think. Yeah, so I'll tell it because we talked about this. Right. This is the legendary Michael Fang's Aqua that I grew last indoor run last season. And so these are 3 different plants. That's plant A, plant B, and because you guys know that every seed is going to be different, right? It can be different. Brothers and sisters and sisters, a little bit different. And each environment for your cousin Nikolai was a little bit different. So each plant turned out just a little bit different. And this one was the one that smelled most like the cherry pie kush. And
it does smell like a little cherry pie.
Yeah. But anyhow, this was, oops, there goes baby Jesus again. But this, I got to show everybody. I have to give them top-down camera. This was the best nugs. I like to show it because they were like the frostiest of them. Oh, let's give them a top-down camera. Hold on, a switch. Did it go off, the top-down camera?
Yeah, I think it's kind of switched off.
There we go. Put it back on. Come on. There we go.
Cash Tree Mason just hopped up in my live.
There we go.
Shout out fucking Cash Tree Mason. He's one of the best growers in the game. Yeah, you got to see his page. It's fucking weed.
Check it out. Show everybody real quick. There it is, guys.
Look at that.
Look at the focus on it and everything. Yeah, this is the Aqua strain that I grew of Michael Fang's. Look at the bud structure in that. It's crazy.
It's really similar to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really similar. This one's, definitely a little darker. This one's the gas, though.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's the straight. I don't know. There's something I'm gravitating to.
You like that one, huh?
The smell on this reminds me of some of my favorite weed back in the day. It's like an amalgamation of my different favorite strains. Is this going this way?
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. I just thought I'd show you. You know, I know you know Michael and all that.
No, this one, yeah, he's really, as far as like structure and nose. The last time I saw him, we had lunch. He went to his truck. I was still walking towards his truck, and I was like, 4 car parking spots away when he had opened up the bag, and I fucking, the wind blew through the fucking parking garage. It's just like, bro, I can smell that from here. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I love it when he brings his bags back to, let's go back to this.
100%.
Behind scenes. There we go. All right. Back to one. Let me take a minute, see if there's any comments here. This one, Guernica, who shows up on my live streams on the regular, says 54-foot trailers can be refurbished into grow labs that need no building permits because they're mobile. Yeah, I know a lot of people are using shipping containers, and that's its whole nother build out there. But let me go to YouTube and see if there's any comments there. We've got, the usual showing up. Any questions for our cousin here? We've got 5 here on my Instagram, guys.
Mine timed out.
Did it?
Yeah,
Really?
I'm going to go back on live.
Okay. Again. All right. Yeah. So where are we at time-wise? We're hour into show. Yeah. It's great reading through here. Yeah, he's going to get it back up. They said the aficionado feed went down. I guess they were watching on yours. And that. Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Back up. We'll wait for you to get back up. I'll ask you a couple more questions. Oh, we're back.
We're live again.
All right. Good. All right. Well, cousin, let's transition into, so you made your way here to the Mitten State of Great Lakes now. And you've been here for how long now? And how did that transpire, and where you're at? What do you want to share with us about coming here to the Mitten State of the Great Lakes, Michigan?
Weed's not, back in the day, at least for me, it's like I had to go to Mendo. I had to be in Cali. To be where to learn what I learned, and to be around the crowd and the peers and the mentors that I had. And but now it's like, now you've seen with the hemp bill passing, with all these states going legal, it's a lot of people left California. I'm actually one of the last people in my friends group that left Cali, and I didn't leave for good. It's like I still have to fly back and forth from Michigan to Humboldt to still do seed production. There's just a difference between seed production and seed breeding, right? We're doing a lot of the selection and the breeding here in Michigan, finding the exciting strains, then once you localize and you isolate your favorite phenos and your favorite males, and you keep cuts of that, then you do large production, where we're going to do it in Humboldt, or we've been doing it in Humboldt, but one of the big reasons for moving out here is we're building out a facility in France, with a GMP medical facility, and we're growing about 3 million seeds in Colombia. And so, just being centralized in Michigan, I was able to shave 3 hours off my flight time to Colombia. I was able to shave off 5 to 6 hours of my flight time going to France. And I have to be in and out of these places, so I needed to be a lot more centrally located. When you think about, as a grower back in California, back in the day when it was still medical, my total addressable market was literally California, or people that came into California to buy the weed, and then whatever they did with it after the fact, ship it out of state. That was what they did, But for me as a breeder, my addressable market is global now. Now we have hemp laws. We have the farm bill that allows us to, legally export, CBD seeds, and not just CBD seeds, but any seed can be, classified as CBD because it doesn't test positive for THC or CBD. You know what I mean? And it's going to be well within, the threshold and the acceptable limits that's, outlined by the farm bill. So, as the world went, as more states became online, and as and Europe's crazy as fuck right now. South America, Africa, and Europe. I mean, there's whole countries that straight up legalized. you know, and they're importing and exporting right now.
Wow.
And you know, part of being in the genetics game is like, well, being in genetics, like your market is global, and if you're in the right place at the right time, then you could set up these, you know, you could outfit a lot of these, you know, new grows that are coming online with the best possible genetics, or they come seek you out. You know, a lot of the times they came and sought us out. So that's the biggest reason why we're in Michigan, is so I could be centrally located, and also because I fucking fell in love with the place.
I was going to ask why Michigan.
Fucking fell in love with the place,
really,
man. I went to the Breeders' Ball. Tori Biz brought me to the Breeders' Ball. I didn't want to go. I really didn't want to fucking go. I was like, I don't want to go to fucking Michigan. And everybody that was at the Breeders' Ball brought their fucking A game. I mean, I met more organic soil growers at the Breeders' Ball, and then those 2 weeks that I was in Michigan for that time, and even the first time I came to Michigan, we were doing the Frenchy's documentary premiere. I came last year in April. The Breeders' Ball was like what, August, September, something like that. November, it was November, and so I came in April last year, and I was blown away by all the quality people were bringing me, and showing me at Frenchy's movie premiere. And I was like, damn. And so that left a mark. And then when I went to the Breeders' Ball up in Traverse City, fell in love with Traverse City, fell in love with the people, but I fell in love with that culture. I was like, there was still this underground culture of people doing it for the love of the game, people that were growing the best possible living soil with the best possible inputs. And I loved that. It's like they were just doing it for the love of the fucking game. And it reminded me somewhat of Mendo and Humboldt back in the day. And it made me super nostalgic, and I really connected with the people that are here. Shout out High Truth Organics, you know, shout out fucking Ross, shout out something in blue. They sponsored Frenchies. They were the ones with the machines at Frenchies Hash Class. They do insane rosin. Travis from North Coast. It was the best fucking, you know, donuts. I mean, hash hole joints. Like, dude, there was people from Cali that were smoking them, going like, bro, which dispensary did you get this at? I was like, bro, you can only get this in Michigan. He's like, are you telling me I can only get this in Michigan?
Yeah.
And like, they were just blown away.
Coast,
they don't know about the quality that was out here. You know what I mean? It's like, granted, it's like a lot of the industry everywhere all over the country is fucked up. You have, you know, legalization ruins things and grows, but it was that underground traditional contingency of fucking true believers that do it just because they fucking love it. You know what I mean? I find more people doing it here because they love it than people that, you know, rely on it for money or that absolutely need it for money. And the people that I know that are doing it really good, you know, their shit just ends up selling at like at a good premium ticket because their shit is fucking good. You know, so that's what made me, you know, gravitate towards Michigan. And it was, I'm paying a quarter of the cost of everything, you know. For you know, when you look at power costs out here, I was paying 40 to 50 cents a kilowatt hour between SoCal and Humboldt, depending on where we were working that season. And out here, I'm paying like 9 to 11 cents a kilowatt hour. I'm like paying like a fifth of what I used to pay in Cali. And then, you know, it was just a lot more affordable. And, you know, I love Cali. You know, it's where my heart is. It's where my family is. It's where I'm from. But when you look at it, it's like, well, I'm hemorrhaging money just to enjoy the sunshine, but I have a shitty quality of life now because I'm like hemorrhaging money just to fucking keep my business floating. And it just didn't seem like a good long-term solution. And then when I looked at people that had the wherewithal to leave, like my buddy Cannabis by Corey, he was one of like the guys that, he was a co-founder of BAMF, helped DNA genetics win a lot of their cups in the early days of legalization. Shout out Corey. He moved out to fucking Oklahoma. Fang, you know, he was a smart guy back in the day. He moved out here fucking years ago. You know, I got, and there's a bunch of other friends from Mendo and Humboldt that I won't say their names on the podcast, but they've also, you know, came out here. So it was just like, all right, I found more kinship in the people I met out here, because back in Humboldt, I was real lonely on the mountain, man. Like farms were closing down left and right. The guy I looked up to the most in the world was this guy named Island Mountain Joe. He was like the big dog. And I was just really, shout out Island Mountain Joe, Island Mountain Organics, man. He was the fucking whale, like the big dog in Humboldt, bro, growing huge packs. Money, just fucking money coming out of his nose, you know, but super humble, super good dude. Raised amazing children that are like professional soccer players. And I remember being on the road one day, and he pulls me over. He's like, "Yeah, let's just smoke one." You know, we're on top of the mountain, you know, about 10 miles past Alder Point, near the crossroads. And he was like, "Hey, brother, do you ever wonder if we're the only people driving on this mountain anymore?" And I was like, I was just fucking thinking about that. He's like, "It's getting pretty lonely out here."
Mm.
You know, before it's like, you know, at one point there was like 5,000 farms just in southern Humboldt. Imagine that. And just that, right? It was 5,000 farms. It was estimated like back in like 2013, 2014, there was $1 million of weed coming off fucking Alder Point Road an hour. And it was like day and night, 24/7. That fucking small ass, not really well paved mountain road with 1 million potholes was busy, bro. There's packs moving up, packs moving
Tail lights
down.
and headlights, right?
That's all, bro. Fucking huge trailers pulling pallets of soil all hours of the fucking night, all hours of the day. And it was like a fucking highway. And then as legalization and abatement, you know, abatement notices starting to get issued where people had to leave their properties because they were out of compliance, and sheriffs were busting people, you started seeing the population just slowly fucking start to shrink. You started seeing stores in towns start to close that were staples in the community for like 20 or 30 years. Wow. You know, and then before you know it, it's like all your friends are gone, the stores are closed, and you're paying $7 a gallon for diesel. That was some fucking bullshit, bro. You know? And then it's like I lived an hour and a half away from the gas station. I still have a big F350 fucking flatbed diesel because that's what you needed to pull trailers with, you know, 20,000 pounds of soil, 24,000 pounds of fucking soil and fucking, you know, amendments and nutrients up a fucking, I mean, Alder Point Road is a 10-mile grade. It's 10 miles up the fucking mountain. And then it's 10 miles down the fucking mountain. So you need a big truck. So it's like every time I hopped in the truck, it was like anywhere from like $650 to $780. Yeah. Every time I just wanted to sit in the driver's seat. And it's just like, it just bummed everybody out, bro. And I know other seed companies that are moving to and not people just moved to Michigan. All my friends, I have friends who moved to Thailand, friends that moved to Spain, friends that moved to New York, friends that are in fucking Louisiana, friends that are in fucking Florida, that all were my neighbors. I fucking Rebel Grown Dan, he still has his farm, and shout out, you got your farm still in Palo Verde and fucking Humboldt in the heart of it. But he's working out in Vermont right now, doing big things in Vermont. So if you were fucking smart, when the ship's sinking, you got to get the fuck off the ship. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I looked at it. So if you're a true believer and you're still in Mendo and you're still in Humboldt, I got the utmost respect for you. But for me, my boat was taking on a little too much water, so we had to sell what we had, our stakes in the property that we had, and we had to just, you know. But at the same time, my friends that were big ballers back in the day that are stuck up there that can't go anywhere, they're like, "Bro, I can't sell the pounds that I'm growing. Can I help you make seeds?" So I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's make some fucking seeds. I'm getting the fuck out of here." And so, you know, it's a win-win situation.
So they're back there helping you still run.
Yeah, yeah. You know, some of them are like straight up OGs that I have like the highest amount of respect for, that I'm still like real timid when I'm around because I just respect them so immensely. And I'm just so thankful that they're still willing to help me make seeds and do breeding projects. And one of my buddies that I'm doing breeding project with this year that I've done with in the past is my buddy Josh Free from Empress Farms, who's one of the greatest men I've ever met in my fucking life. Who was like, you know, imagine being a grower making millions of dollars a year and you're the captain of the volunteer fire department and you're a first responder. You know what I mean? You're an hour and a half away from the closest fucking hospital or anything. And so if you get hurt on that road, fucking Josh is going to pull up in his fucking fancy ass flatbed Toyota Tundra and fucking, you know, patch you the fuck up, you know? So, you know, shout out to that guy. He's one dude that, definitely keeps my heart beating in fucking Humboldt for sure.
Wow, cousin, this is you hear about Mendo and you hear about Humboldt. I wouldn't have of course have no idea, like when you make mention of Mendo being smaller type grows than what Humboldt was. That really put a good clear picture.
Yeah, it's different now. It's
interesting.
You know, I was on the way and Tori was asking me, do you miss Cali? And, you know, I have to be back and forth. I have to fly back in a week or two anyway, you know. And I miss what it was. You know, I miss what it was, and that keeps me from missing. And the only constant we have to be real that the only constant we have in life, whether you're in the weed game or you're fucking not, the only constant we have is change.
Yes.
And so we have to fucking embrace the change and just go with it. And this is just me going with it. And I'm thankful every fucking day. You know, my thankfulness comes with anxiety because it's like I'm a new place and I have to make it fucking work, you know, like every day. But it's like it drives me to put my best possible effort in things because, like, you know, I'm thankful that I'm still in the game, but because I took a break after my best friend and my partner died, Frenchy Cannoli. But every day I'm still in the game. I'm fucking thankful, and that drives me to do my best possible work. And so it's like being out here is kind of like my second chance to really make my mark on the industry. And I think I'm around really good people to help, you know, keep my heart in the game. You know, when I'm going through shit, I call Ross from Fresh Coast. I'm like, bro, what do you think about this? And, you know, he's like, I just have a really good support group out here that I'm really fucking thankful for, you know, above all, because it was real lonely in Humboldt for a little bit, and I was 3 hours away from my buddy Josh. You know,
Yeah.
you know, because Humboldt's a big place.
Right. No, it's no, the strength in numbers, and I can appreciate what you mean. Feeling like the last man standing there for sure. I go back to old country just recently, and there's one thing you say that's for certain is change.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's not the same place. When I grew up, it's the memories are there, but the feeling is not the same. Things have changed. Change is just part of life, and you either adapt and overcome, like they say in the Marines, right? Semper Fi.
Yeah.
Or you just get left well, they don't leave them behind in the Marines,
No,
but
not the
right?
devil dogs.
But you might get left behind in this industry if you're not adapting and overcoming and sticking with your community. And I can attest to that. That here in the Mitten State of the Great Lakes, that's one thing that is very true and tried is the community here, caregivers, and these events that I go to. Yeah, it's truly the community.
It really
It
is.
really
Yeah,
is,
the
and it's
caregivers,
small.
I fell in love with that.
I know that they had it in California, but you know, Southern Cal is so different than Northern Cal, and you know, every part of California is its own little how would you say ecosystem or whatever, and it's all different. Michigan seems to be there's a little bit of the city, right? And you know you got the city on the east side of the state, which is near Detroit, and that's a different vibe. But once you get west or north, it truly is like that rural, more like growing community, like truly legacy growers. And you go to these festivals, and
It's badass.
it really is. It is unique here in the Mitten State. We have a great bunch of people here in the
And
cannabis
you love your
industry.
events.
We do. We have some great people.
Events out here.
They put on the Michael Fang, the Big Cloud, these group of people that got
shout
together.
out Big Cloud.
Yeah, they put on some most excellent events these last couple of years.
I went to the craziest event I've ever been my entire fucking cannabis career, and I really didn't want to go to this one either. I was busy. I needed to work on the plants, and you know, she was like, "Hey, we're gonna go to this cannabis event. It's a slam dunk contest and cannabis event."
Really?
And I'm just like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
Who does that?" And we end up going there. The baddest fucking thing I've ever been to. What's her name? Highhead. Shout out Highhead. The most genius fucking idea in the world. Imagine a huge basketball court with vendors, weed vendors all around surrounding the basketball court. Everyone's smoking weed, everyone's sharing weed, and everyone's slam dunking. Like there's a slam dunk contest going on. So it's like you're literally back on the hood with your homies, smoking joints, talking shit about people slam dunking or big upping people slam dunking. It was like the most authentic street culture event I've been to since the events in Oakland back in like 2012, 2014. It's the baddest thing I've been to since legalization came to Cali. It's like I remember seeing saying what's up to Highhead. It's like, yo, this like rocked me because it was true street culture and weed culture, and that's like it's super important to me because we wouldn't have traditional weed culture if it wasn't for street culture. I mean, it's like all the growers, whether you're in a growers on the fucking hills, on the mountain, or you're in your basement, that weed was moving on the streets.
Yeah, right.
And so to have that amalgamation of the street culture and the weed culture and all these dispensaries and all these brands just chilling with each other, smoking. And they all had people on their team slam dunking. So like the slam dunk teams were all being represent, like they were all representative of different companies and brands and dispensaries.
Oh, cool.
There wasn't no shit talking. There wasn't. I mean, we were talking shit. Everyone's shit talking about the dunking because that's what you do in a basketball game, you know. But the vibes were like competing brands, competing companies. It was dope, bro. I haven't seen that in Cali in a long time. Where there's a lot of fucking bad blood in Cali. There's a lot of people like, oh, I don't fuck with those people. It was like I've never been to an event like that where it was that kind of love, and that was really what really like fucking drove it home for me. I was like, I made the right move coming out of here.
Where was this story?
It was in Detroit.
It was in the city. Yeah.
It was
fucking...
in a trap house and upstairs.
Oh.
In an old brick building.
And they had basketball.
And they did,
Yeah.
It was bad as fuck, bro. Everybody was like, we didn't know what to think about this, but we came out. It's like, damn, this is really the heartbeat of the culture right here.
It really is.
The industry.
You know, and you can do, you know, the city, if you know where to go, you know where to play, and you don't fucking cause a scene, you're okay. And that's the great thing about Detroit. It's kind of like you just do your thing and you give the nod. And yeah, that's great. Well, I'm glad that you made it here and you picked Michigan over Oklahoma or New York, because I know New York is coming on scene.
Fuck Oklahoma.
Well, I hear they're ruining things there in Oklahoma too.
Sorry,
like,
in-house.
No.
And all my friends that are in Oklahoma, I drove through it once, and that's the last time I'll set foot in that fucking state.
It's cool if you like to watch tornadoes.
Yeah.
If you're a tornado chaser, that's one of the best states to be in.
There's some really good growers out there.
Oh, no doubt. There's good growers everywhere. I was just saying in general.
But I just couldn't be out there. Like, you know, why I fell in love with Humboldt was like the mountains and the greenery. And I like that about Michigan. It's like,
yeah, it's lush.
It's lush. It's beautiful out here. And it's not New York. You know, New York's nice, but it was just.
No, this is not New York.
I wanted to be around culture where there was like real weed culture. And, you know, that you have that in New York. I just think it's a little more.
It's a different culture.
It's way different.
It's it's city.
Yeah. Oh, and Hash Bash.
Oh, which one? Oh, Hash Bash here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Hash Bash.
If anybody watch, go to fucking Hash Bash. You hear that on the live Ann Arbor Hash Bash?
Yeah.
You're missing out, bro. They should call it Trap Fest.
Yeah. Don't tell. Yeah, that was the hotel is something else.
It was Freedom though. When you go to the square at the college, that it takes place on the college.
Yeah,
smoking weed.
Doing
shrooms, and it's been going on for 50 years.
Just don't cause a fucking problem, and everything's okay. The cops, you know, they're walking by, and I hear someone come by and we were there, and they talked to the tent. So, you know, hey, where it is, the cops are coming through. It's like if you're not causing a big scene. They're very well versed in what we're doing here, and I actually cool. I just went out. Maybe I'll show it, but I was there, and I come across two officers, and I said, you know, would it be okay if I put you on camera? They're cool enough to go on camera, and I said, you know, I said something to like I always do when I see the police officers. There's a cannabis event. These cannabis events are a lot better than the ones with alcohol, are they not? And they always have like, oh yeah, the only thing we have to worry about is if we're gonna have enough Doritos or something like that, right? And they're like, yeah, you know, but the whole vibe is great. And the city of Ann Arbor, they've been doing it for so long that the police force there, they're very accepting.
Yeah.
Don't be a jackass and try to steal something from someone. I heard someone try to do that and they caused a real problem for themselves. But other than that, there's no problems. And there is a great community. And yeah, geez, the Hash Bash is legendary, is it not? Yeah, John Sinclair and Insane. John Lennon. And, you know, it's that's how it all started. But that it was quite fitting. Shout out in honoring the John Sinclair because he passed just a few days before the hash, right before, and I think it was quite fitting because had he passed, you know, somewhere in between the year, and you know, it would have given too much time but it was so fresh that there was so much honoring going on up at those steps. And it was your cousin Nikolai's first time making it to those steps with the community that was there. And I
Yeah,
tell
that's
you, I
where I
never.
met you. That was
Yeah,
super
yeah,
cool.
Causatori,
Yeah.
our Cannabis Cousin. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was it. First time we meet, and the vibe is so great. It's truly a community grassroots thing, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and you were talking about your podcast, but I
Yeah.
was still trying to digest that you were an automotive photographer, and the whole reason I got into weed back in the day,
yeah.
besides it like saving my life and something to smoke. I was like, I also got into it so I could pay for my car addiction.
Oh,
Like that was my first drug.
I love cars.
Yeah, it makes my heart beat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
like that's my thing is cars, and I'm also a fabricator and I studied mechanical engineering. So anything that involves cars. So it's like seeing the pictures that when we came in your office and seeing, I was like, oh, that's fucking odd. Like the lighting.
Yeah.
It looks like what you see
Yeah.
in the promo book at the dealership. I was like,
thank you, cousin.
that's like real art. And then the custom cars that you're showing me that you've photographed.
Yeah.
That's I love it.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Yeah, it's the city of motors, guys. We got good weed and we got great cars, no doubt.
Yeah, no, that was an extra too. Because I'm a car guy, and there's like
Yeah.
all these car museums here.
Oh, dude.
And then there's like King's Books, which is like one of the oldest
King's.
bookstore in the country. And so like I'm in the automotive section, and then you see this book that was printed in 1926, and it's like the history of the automobile. You're like, this is the coolest fucking thing ever. You know what I mean? It's like they still have books like that back when they were documenting the history of something back in the 20s.
I tell you, I've been to many of the automotive plants, the very first Henry Fords, and
I'm still waiting to go to that.
The Piquet plant where the Model T was made, and so many. And I have to recollect that it's been quite special being here with Cousin. And being exposed to all these different things they built cars here, and the saying goes, if it wasn't for Detroit, there wouldn't have been a Hollywood, because no one would have made the roads for the cars to drive there.
Yeah,
guys.
the first paved road in the world,
Woodward
Avenue.
Right.
I was like, when someone told me that, I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, we were the first cruising place, Woodward Avenue. And you should check it out around August 16th, 17th, 18th.
I can't wait.
The Dream Cruise. Yeah. It's not quite what it used to be, but it'll still be something you'll be knock your socks off, no doubt. But let me get it back into cannabis and to kind of get us wind back in. But you made mention of the legendary Frenchy Cannoli. Yeah, Frenchy. And nobody, a lot of people know of him, but there's a lot of youngsters that don't. And why don't you just get into it about your relationship with him? Because I know nothing about your relationship with him other than I saw you had something going on YouTube in my brief, looking in on you. But go ahead.
For anybody that doesn't know Frenchy, I'll preface this with go on YouTube, do YouTube short. If you want to learn how to make old school traditional hash, he's the guy that was really the harbinger of preserving that formula. And I remember back in he was my best friend, my brother, my business partner of 12 years before he passed, and the best friend I've ever had in my whole fucking life. It was hard. I couldn't talk about him for years. I took a whole break. I took a whole year off of cannabis because I just had to grieve my best friend. And he's a great man. I wouldn't have met my business partner, Professor Q, who's my best friend and one of my brothers, if it wasn't for Frenchy. We co-own the French Connection. That was a seed company we started in Spain because of the connections Frenchy had made. My sister was his apprentice, and now she's running some of the biggest hash production in California right now, and won the Emerald Cup the last 2 years in a row. Won the Eagle Clash last year. And it was just he had such a profound impact when Frenchy started really. He's been making. Frenchy Cannoli is one of the most legendary hash makers in the history of the cannabis scene. One of the most celebrated figures for people that were in cannabis before legalization. And anybody that knows the cannabis community, the hash community is a tough fucking crowd. But I think a lot of the most cutting edge techniques, cutting edge cultivars is all validated and experimented with by the hash community. they're always dealing with the cutting edge of things.
Mm.
When Frenchy was starting to really evangelize a lot of the teachings and the virtues of old school hash and the history of hash, I mean, it was an uphill battle for him for a long time, because this is when, you know, solventless wax was becoming a first thing, rosin was becoming a thing, you know, fresh headies, you know, the best possible hash that you could make, you know. But Frenchy was still, you know, pressing his hash, making the old traditional way, keeping that alive, and it wasn't about, you know, him trying to like, you know, engineer, you know, the best possible product. You know, he was making the best possible product, but he was preserving a formula, you know, this ancient formula of making old school pressed hash that, you know, when you press hash and you could like hyper age it. You know, I got some hash that's aged for like 8 years that Frenchy made, and it completely changes. And you know, and he was a prolific writer. He wrote for Skunk, he wrote for High Times, he wrote for Weed World, and you know, hopefully one day, you know, his lovely wife, who's kind of like our second mom, you know, shout out, you know, Madam Cannoli, hopefully she finishes, you know, in the book that he was writing before he passed away. So Frenchy is one of the most pivotal characters when it comes to um, all things cannabis. You know, T Dog the artist, you know, I know you know T Dog, who's a fucking legend, world, you know, all over the world. T Dog, shout out T Dog. And I wouldn't have that connection with T Dog if it wasn't for Frenchy, because Frenchy and T Dog were good friends. And so yeah, he's just you know, just an incredible guy. You know, I credit him and Josh Free with teaching me how to be a better person. You know, I was real ornery when I was first starting in the industry, but Frenchy was, you know, a lot older than me, and he really taught me a lot of valuable lessons. Really taught me how to be a good friend. I didn't know the true meaning of like friendship till Frenchy, you know. So I wasn't able to talk about him until like this year, because it was just too gnarly. I just missed him, and that was one of the reasons why I couldn't like. You know, I was in Mendo and Humboldt before Frenchy and I were working together, but not having like my brother there. You know, I have my brother Carlo who runs the business with me. You know, so it's like he's, you know, a lot of people don't know that Aficionado is two people. It's me and my brother Carlo. But Frenchy was also a brother to both of us, you know, because he was also like a brother and a father to my sister, because my sister apprenticed with him for like 6 years, bro. Lived in his house for 4 years, being a proper apprentice. And we had this crazy bond because we all lived in Japan at one time, at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up in Japan until I was 20. And my sister grew up there until she was like 17. And Frenchy lived there. His daughter was born in Japan. His daughter speaks fluent Japanese. Kim, Madam Cannoli, speaks fluent Japanese. I knew exactly where they lived.
Wow.
I was into racing, and I remember telling Frenchy, I was like, "Hey, man, did you ever hear? You live near Nanamagari Road." He's like, "Oh, how'd you know?" I was like, "Yeah, if you're in Saitama, you live near this road. Did you ever hear these guys fucking racing at like Friday, Saturday at 3 o'clock in the morning?" He's like, "They fucking drive me crazy." That was me and my friends. So it's like, you know, we were crossing paths in, you know, in some way before any of us. I mean, he was already in weed full time. Like he's got a crazy history. You know what I mean? He's got a fucking. I mean, he was making hash in India back in the 70s. You know what I mean? He was doing all. He really lived the fucking life. That's where he met his wife Kim. They met in India. You know, where he was going back every year to the same farm in Himachal Pradesh, making old school charas and hash, like really living the life when it was super fucking taboo back in the day.
Yeah, really, back then.
Just always followed his heart.
I know the stories that people used to smoke a lot of hash and condoms in their vaginas and whatnot.
Yeah, 100%.
I smoked some of that hash back in the day.
Me too.
It was some of the best. It wasn't a condom. I mean, not when I smoked it.
Yeah. But it was a certain shape.
Yeah, it was a big log.
Easy entry and
yeah,
exit.
they made it just right. I don't know about all that. Sorry, off topic. There I go again. That's
That's good. I like the soundboard. That's good.
Sometimes it's really good. Really at the odd times. But yeah, thank you for that. Frenchy lived in Humboldt with you at one point then. Was it?
Every
No,
year, like
he'd
it was
come.
like his second home.
So he'd come
you
and
know?
stay, right?
Yeah, he'd stayed, and we built him his first hash lab up there.
Okay.
It was built inside of a 40-foot shipping container.
Okay.
It's back when we had a lot more money than we knew what to do with.
Sure.
When money was good.
Yeah.
I bought this 40-foot shipping container. I parked it under the trees. We outfitted it with this fucking 1,000-gallon-a-day RO system. AC units that were connected to cool bots, which turned the AC unit into a fucking freezer unit.
Whoa.
So he was working, and then what was funny is like we were doing mostly outdoor at the time. So, he's making hash in November and December when it's already fucking frozen outside. So it's like, but it was like, well, we really designed it, we just never made hash in there in the summer, even though we insulated it. We had the craziest HVAC. It's like probably had 2 harvests a year. We had put like a ton of money into this, and yeah, we were making hash there, and for the first 8, 10 years when we were all going to shows, all the hash, most of that 80-90% of the hash that Frenchy was smoking people out came from our farm.
Wow.
And then it came time for him to he started his brand, and he's always really good at branding, and he actually taught me how to use Illustrator. Because we're known for our crazy packaging.
Right.
I told him, I was like, hey, I designed all this on PowerPoint. He's like, the fuck is that?
Yeah,
so he taught me how to use Illustrator, and one of the gifts I gave to him for his birthday was I designed his packaging for his hash brand, the labels, the boxes, and that was just for him because he was a part of Aficionado, and so it was Frenchy Cannoli, but it was all in black, white, and gold, just for him, and it's something they used until Frenchy passed, so one day they're going to make hash again. So the goal, hopefully one day when the time is right, is, Kim and my sister are going to, Jack Daniels didn't make the fucking, whiskey forever. Jim didn't make the whiskey forever, but the
recipe lives on.
But the recipe lives on. So that's really the goal, is to have the people that, his wife, his direct apprentice, to be able to honor his name and to put that in the market. But the market's been fucked, bro. It's not a fruitful market for people right now.
No,
So
not even with a brand like that.
No.
That's a legacy brand there. That one is that's like Kiss or something, like that one's to live on well after them. That's a Rolling Stone brand, right?
Hardcore.
Somebody,
it will.
Yeah, it will for sure, because the world knows of Frenchy. We got to keep those stories going. I guess that's why it's good to have these podcasts and keep talking about it, because like some of those legendary genetics that you spoke of that are no longer around. Let's talk about some of those landrace heirloom strains, and that, the Jack Herrers and the whatever happened to Pacololo. And
they still have it,
right? We don't hear about it, right?
Shout out Pacololo Seed Company on Molokai.
There you go.
On the island of Molokai. You're a gangster when you're living on Molokai and you have a seed company.
I guess legacy there for sure, right?
Yeah, but there's actually really good breeders in Hawaii. I think Hawaii is one of those kind of. I'm not trying to put you guys on blast, Hawaii, but you guys are one of the best kept secrets in cannabis.
Probably. We always thought they could.
I mean, to this day, the best we'd ever smoked in my life was in Kalapana on the Puna side of Big Island. And this old hog farmer, this old deadhead, had a property out there. But I remember meeting, Hawaiians out there that, were living in Kauai, on Big Island, that, just had these old school Hawaiian genetics crossed with European genetics and then Cali genetics. And they have like really their own thing. That it's like kind of like music. They have like their own sound out there. It's like if you equate weed to music or a sound, it's like its own thing. And it's really remarkable. So I think it's like that's when Hawaii gets its shit together legally, and makes it fair for a lot of those breeders out of Hawaii to really put on and represent themselves properly. I think you're going to see a lot of really prominent brands coming out of Hawaii, just because like anyone who's been there, when you taste the weed, it's fucking insane.
I would imagine.
It's like flavors like Puna butter. Shout out to whoever bred Puna butter, but that's the Puna bud. Oh my God, it's insane.
Wow. Yeah. And it's medical right now, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's medical.
In all the islands, right? Or is it?
So
it would.
Sure.
I'm trying to wrap my head around. So Hawaii, if it would be Hawaii, so it would be all the islands like Maui and all that, right? Like should be, because it's a state, and those islands are part of the state. So if it's state law, then they should all abide. So right now it's just medically.
Yeah.
Do you know the plant count there?
No, I don't.
It's probably like 6. Everywhere is 6, right?
I know the government really fucked it up for everybody.
I heard they
over
ruined
there.
it.
They
Yeah,
ruined
just recently.
It could have been the baddest thing in the world.
Yeah, I heard it. They just got it all fucked up.
It was supposed to be the baddest thing in the world, you know. And you have a lot of amazing organic growers. You know, my entire soil recipe is just trying to mimic the qualities and componentry that you see in Hawaiian soil, like lava rock, a lot of amino acids and sugars from the papaya that grows wild and the guava that goes wild, you know, falls to the floor and decomposes. So it's like they, you know, that's what I'm saying. You know, hopefully when the legislation in Hawaii is conducive to innovation and growth, I think you're going to see just insane talent. I mean, there's already really good breeders out there. There's a guy 808 Genetics.
Oh yeah,
who puts out fucking.
That's where he's from.
Some of the best weed I smoked this year was from his packs.
He's from Hawaii then.
Yeah, from Hawaii.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 808. He's on the Seed Bank International.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. There's so much history to be learned, no doubt, and so much to catch up on for your cousin Nikolai. I appreciate all these stories.
Thanks for having me on, bro.
Yeah, well, we're not quite done. I want to give you an opportunity to promote or solicit whatever it is you're doing. Hey, you brought me something. Did I leave it there?
Where's the?
Hold on, let me get it. Is it there? Yeah, here. Look at that. Look. Come on camera from our lovely Miss Tori. Okay, look, I should have put this on right away. I love hats.
9 weeks harvest. Shout out Julio.
Look at this. It's a 50-50 too. It's good. It hides my big ears. Stand by. And, go for my new head. Oh, look, it's just right. Perfect. I love it. Perfect.
Yeah, I brought you a shirt. Brought you a sour shirt. That's my favorite strain.
Cousin. All right.
The sour.
Thank you, cousin. Looky. Tell me about this. This is one of your strains. Forgive my ignorance. So this is one of your legendary strains. Well, it's sour
diesel. It's just I definitely didn't fucking breed sour
diesel.
I
know it's a legendary strain.
Smoke and my favorite thing to breed with. So that's a shirt. And actually was inspired by that design from what was it, Dogfather Genetics. Yeah. He was at Breeders' Ball. He was wearing a shirt that said sour and had a gas pump. I was like, that's the best idea.
I love it. Thank you very much, cousin. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll put that down there. Oh, what else? Oh, looky.
I brought you some seeds for your for your grow.
Really?
You know, some Rainbow Larry.
Look at that. Oh, this is the packaging I have been drooling over for years. I don't think I'll even... Why did you open those?
Baccio Gelato.
Dude, touching them with your fingerprints.
And the Hollywood Ghost. This one's really good. This one's
looky. Get out of the way, Mr. Pothead Goes Green. Oh, looky. Oh, they get top-down camera for this. Do I have top-down camera? Let me get top-down camera for this one. Let's go top-down. This camera always turning off on me. Silly camera. There it is. We'll go top-down camera for you guys right now. Looky. You should go to YouTube YouTube. If you're on Instagram, you'll see full production value. I love your packaging, cousin. I love the wax stamping like they do in the wines.
Thanks, bro.
That's before I even
put them in leather joint pouches. Wow. We just wanted to be the first. We were the first with like a wooded watch box. We used to have these big boxes that were piano finished. We still sell those in Europe. Because and the reason why you sell those in Europe? Well, I started my career in Europe, and that's why I keep them in Europe. But here's like I want to also be the first to have like leather packaging, just something special to have a keepsake. Because people like tins. There was a seed company that had tins, and I used to put my joints in one of these seed companies' tins. I thought that was cool, so I was like, well, what if I could have a little leather joint pouch? And this is kind of just how we wanted to.
It's beautiful.
Put on for where we're from, which is Humboldt County and Mendocino.
The card stock is very nice.
It's actually blotter paper, acid blotter paper. Yeah. It's on Bicycle Day. I made a post and people were like, I thought that paper felt familiar.
I see Mickey Mouse in the world right now. So how many can we get off of this? Yeah, very cool, cousin.
Definitely not dipped.
Right. Yeah. Very nice. Wow. The fonts, everything is chosen.
Thank you.
right? I understand this.
Yeah.
Just picking fonts and placements and sizes.
Yeah, the
Very
different
nice. And you do
lines, the
this all in
symmetry.
Illustrator yourself, huh?
Yeah. Originally, that format hasn't changed. I originally did that format on PowerPoint.
Oh.
And
yeah, looky. Very nice, guys. The attention to detail.
Yeah, and so that was I was always inspired by Bordeaux wines. So when you look at a Bordeaux wine label, they have very strict guidelines on the placement of the logos and and the brands and the fonts you use and the kerning, which is the space in between the letters. And so we wax dip them all.
Wow, guys, did you see that? Here, she comes out of leather pouch. Right. Oops, you might talk down the camera again. Leather pouch. And then, voila, a little glass jar with the wax. That's very nice, cousin. Looky.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, very nice. I'm very much into packaging and that sort of stuff. Very nice. Wow, I feel very honored. Geez, oh Pete's, cousin. I don't know what to say. This is something else. I've been looking at your brand for quite a while, and to have 3 of them right here before me, it's quite an honor. I'm not even kidding.
Worries, man. I wish I brought you more.
No,
I
it's
didn't know you were growing. I was like, oh fuck! If I had knew
I'm
that
not growing enough
you
anymore.
were growing, I would have fucking brought you the kitchen sink.
No, cousin, I appreciate it. I know if I can just reach out when I need to, that would be good enough, right? Like going ahead, I don't want to take what I won't use. And yeah, for sure. It definitely makes me want to grow. I'm so excited I'm growing right now. It's very nice. Oh, so lucky. Yeah, these are available. Let's go to it. Well, here, I'll show you the other little thing we do here on the live stream is we can go and do this. Let's wait for it. We'll go to, okay, hold on, I get set up. We're going to go to Aficionado's website. Wait, that's Seed Bank. We want to go to Aficionado there, right?
Oh, shout out Seed Bank International.
Yeah,
they
there you
carry
are.
our stuff too.
Yeah, they carry. Well, I was going to get to them. That's where I will steer people to. But we'll go to. Okay, so 4. We have that, and then we do the little overlay. So look on that. See how I have the picture in picture.
Oh, sick.
So as I look over here, I'm looking at your website. You guys should go to YouTube if you're on Instagram. You should go to CousinNikolai's YouTube channel. Get full production value of studio. And right now I'm showing you the overlay for the website of the Aficionado Mendocino. And I'll just do a little read through right now for you, cousin. Heritage here. Founded in Northern California's Emerald Triangle region, Aficionado has been custom tailoring highly exclusive designer genetics for a small group of private clients for over 20 years. You don't say. By uniting legendary heirloom genetics and visionary artisanship, Aficionado exemplifies the Emerald Triangle tradition of crafting boutique seeds that must be, at once, exceptionally bold and refined, strictly produced in limited numbers and characterized by unparalleled quality. Our exclusive varieties are reserved only for the most serious connoisseurs. Like your connoisseur, wait, go to it. Like CousinNikolai.
Very nice.
Back to 1. It's true. We encourage all our customers to follow the laws set forth by their country, and state or province, and countries. But yeah, there you guys have it. You can see for yourselves their website right here.
Yeah, a lot of people ask us why we have the 2 chairs there. And when you saw our booths back at the Emerald Cup back in the day, we had these 2 leather chairs, and people were like, "Dude, what's the symbolic nature by the leather chairs?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's really simple. It's like all the weed deals." Friendships happen in 2 chairs. Weed deals happen in 2 chairs. So you build relationships.
That's right.
Down talking in 2 chairs.
That's right.
In a joint. So that's what the 2 chairs.
I love it. Very nice, cousin. I'm glad you explained that for us. And that this scene reminds me of one of the places that I have been discussing with the Michael Fang about one of his Third Eye gatherings, if you're familiar with. And that he has put on a couple of
Wait, that's his?
The Third Eye
gatherings is him?
Yeah, you did not know that? Well, now you do. You heard it here first. Yeah, I went to the first one at the Russell Industrial Building in Detroit, and I was quite taken back and surprised. It was my first time meeting Michael, and what he put on. I walked through the doors, and it was everything that I had hoped.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about Michael Fang and his background, nothing about him, other than that he grew world-class genetics, and sold an NFT with some of his seed packs. And I go to this event, and it was everything your cousin Nikolai had hoped that cannabis would evolve into, where we could share upper echelon. Hold on, where we can share upper echelon genetics and the stories of the cannabis, and to the people that are just coming onto it, that are new to it. It's not just a stoner thing, to break the stigma, right?
No,
Of the
no.
stoner that sits on the couch,
I think
buys
it'll
a.
get like that soon.
It is getting
You
like
know,
that.
we're still embryonic. When you look at things, it's like, yeah, we lived a part of history, and right now we're in a serious economic downturn as far as
Yeah.
you know where the traditional market was. But I still think that we're still in the very embryonic stages of cannabis as a business in general, and we're just waiting. There's no the baseline hasn't even been established for everybody that's getting bummed the fuck out. It's like we still have to tackle federal legalization, you know, and then when things legalize, that's when you really start to establish economic baselines, you know, where economists and businessmen can actually measure things and understand the ebbs and flows of different markets. And it's just going to take time for these kind of metrics and numbers and dynamics to kind of be established and to create patterns where we can measure and to facilitate, you know, more industry growth. But then at the same time, it's like if our government doesn't get its shit together and keeps, you know, policies and regulations in a manner where it prohibits growth and scalability, then, you know, we're just going to kind of be stuck in purgatory. But I still think that, you know, we're still super embryonic, and we just got to play the waiting game. The people that are going to be in the game are going to be the true believers, the ones who are playing it, because that's what they do.
Well, longevity will stand the test of time, and
100%.
if you stick it through. But yeah, it's a tough time to be starting any business in cannabis right now.
Boy, I feel sorry for you if you're starting a business.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Good luck.
You know, the culture is there still, and we need to keep the culture alive. The legalization with the Schedule 3 that they just did, I hear that's bullshit, because that's just going to make it more
It sets the deck so
for
people
farm.
that are FDA compliant,
Yeah,
which are
right.
the only people who could be FDA compliant, are huge businesses. The only people who could be, what we're learning in France, we're helping build a grow, because we're partnered up with some guys that have built and sold this incredibly successful tech company in France. And what we're learning in the GMP market is like, when we thought that it was going to take 20 million to build this facility, the numbers at the end of the day to be compliant for GMP, which the GMP is the guidelines that governs how pharmaceutical products are processed, manufactured. GACP are the guidelines that dictate how pharmaceutically derived agriculture items are grown and cultivated. To be GACP and GMP compliant, for our facility in France just to participate, it's about 60 million euros. And so it's like, what's going to happen to the mom and pops, right? It's like, you know, granted, it's like, you know, if we're lucky, we're going to have, you know, a small amount of shares in this. So I'm going to be compensated for my time with designing the facility. But it's like people that just want to partake in the market. You know, when it comes to Schedule 3, when we're going to just like, all right, cool, it's Schedule 3. You know, some people could be able to produce and export. But it's like, no, you have to have a fucking multi-million-dollar war chest. But at the same time, what the pharmaceutical industry has cut out for itself is they have true believers like myself, like fucking Ross from Fresh Coast and Michael Fang, that could grow fucking circles around these big corporate multi-state operator chads. And a lot of my other friends, a lot of people that I know here in Michigan could grow fucking circles around a lot of these chads. And, you know, as long as we could grow circles around these motherfuckers and put out better quality, our customer's always going to come, because they're acting like they're going to create a new customer base when the customer base has fucking existed for the last 40, 50, 60 years. And these customers want fucking fire. And just because you're a fucking Chad with your white fucking shoes that you never worked a day in your life, shout out Chris Chronic, taught me that fucking one. You could white shoes wearing motherfucker, never worked a day in your life. You know, that with these guys that don't really know how to grow weed and build soil, it's like, you know, our customers there. They know what they want. And just because you're coming online doesn't mean you're going to be able to serve these guys in a manner that where we can't. They're always going to, the black market in California and all over the country is fucking whooping the white market's ass right now, because they're just like one, we don't want to pay overpriced weed in the dispensary. We don't want to pay overtaxed weed in the dispensary when we know our homeboy Julio around the corner grows the best possible quality. I've had a relationship with him for 10 to 20 years, and the best weed, like you said, comes in a fucking Ziploc
In the
bag.
Ziploc.
It's dead.
It died.
It's all
Right.
right,
That's
bro.
okay. Well, I'm glad we got it here. You're right. The best weed does come in a Ziploc when I grow it myself, because it's my weed versus everybody's weed. And that's the way it should be, is you better learn to grow homegrown if you really are complaining about everything and everybody's weed and who's this and that. There's one factor you can do it. Just do it yourself. Learn to grow.
I went on a little rant there, my apologies.
No, it's okay. Those are good. That's all right. It's true. I liked it. It's okay. And,
It's guerrilla warfare. It's economic guerrilla warfare
It's
right
true.
now for us small growers.
It's true. Let me read through some comments here real quick to see if anything has popped up. I'll go back to Instagram here and see. We have, there's 30 people on my feed still. All right. Let me look through here. I thought it would be more interesting. Yeah. Let's see. Guys, try some pineapple haze. It was past Time Machine, amazing.
Oh, 710 CR, they've won a few cups with our genetics in Costa Rica. That's what the CR stands for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, geez, there they have it. Getting a little feedback here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyhow, well, I think it might be a good time to wrap things up here. Let me put the boxes back on here. Any particular order?
No.
Okay. I want to show these off again.
Thanks, bro.
Right here. Aficionado Humbolt, guys. If you do not know, you should, and now you do. Check them out on their website, on the gram. They're at the Aficionado, which one is it? It's the Aficionado Estates on the gram, and then you also have the Aficionado _ French Connection, guys. Check them out on the gram and on their website, too. And make sure to tell them your cousin Nikolai sent you. Yeah, and also available on the Seed Bank International, coupon code COUSIN. Go check it out. Get yourself a discount. Let them know cousin sent you. All right, there you have it. All right, any questions? I'll try and ask one more time. We'll give a couple minutes, see if anybody has. Swan Guernica says there was a lot learned today. I appreciate it. I learned very much, especially the backstory of Leo here and Humboldt, and the difference between growing in Humboldt and Mendo. I just thought it was all one and the same. But no, it's different, guys. Imagine that. There's so much to be learned. Absolutely. That's why it's good to have these gurus, as I'm calling them, in the industry come on the show. That's right. Okay. Great episode. Brandon Winter says, great episode. I think that's a new follower from you, cousin. I think that's from your world. Daniel Saltrain, he's on YouTube too. Thank you.
I can't wait to watch this on YouTube.
Yeah, this is where you'll watch it. It won't live on Instagram because it looks like this the whole time.
I'm definitely gonna get some clips from YouTube and post my little rant.
Yeah, tell everybody to go check it out. Your rant was good.
I feel strongly about it because we feel the reason why the community is real salty because we feel fucking disenfranchised.
Yeah, well, they
feel
did
like the industry was in our livelihood was stolen from us.
It kind of was. It really was. They were. Yeah, it's a real shit show. I tell you. Bureaucracy. I don't think it's gonna get any better. It's just gonna make it
100%.
You just need a lot of money. That's why I think promoting home growing, getting your own seeds, great genetics like Aficionado, and learning to grow with the little help of your friends. Start with one plant outdoors and see how you do, and then bring it indoors and see how you do. But I think that's for me. That's the name of the game. I will always just grow for myself.
100%.
Right, and we'll be smoking this a little bit later. That's right. Anyhow,
I'm gonna need a bottle of that.
Yeah, for sure, cousin. I'm gonna hook you up. I'm honored that you'd want to smoke it.
I just keep smelling it.
I like it. That's good. That's good. See, big thumbs up. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up here. Okay. As it goes, we're gonna end things up with my friend's band, the Rockstead Band, out of Cincinnati, Ohio, on the gram. If you do not know, you should, and now you do. Well, here you go, guys. Well, this is how I end it.
Thank you.
As usual, if you like what your cousin Nikolai is doing, big thumbs up, comment below. Let us know you're out there. All right, guys. Aficionado. Thank you, cousin. Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it.
All right. Okay, guys. Bye for now. Ah, it's good. The dynamic duo, they say. All right. Just for shits and giggles, I'll give them a little behind the scenes. Switch the microphones around. Put on the overall one. They can hear us talking. So be careful what you say.
Okay.
You don't want to talk any bad.
No.
We bring nothing short of a good time.
Little soft. Maybe the older me. I used to be a lot more outspoken, and I'm just like, oh, that's so bad for business. You learn the wrong way.
You know, my motto when I was younger is I don't learn things, I demo them. Because if they're fucked the first time, I won't ever come back across. I find another way, so fuck you.
Scorched earth.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, you know it doesn't.
Because you do come across that gap once.
Damn it.
Damn it, I need that bridge.
You needed that bridge really bad.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I needed it.
Phrase too.
That's it. All right, sounds good.
That's good.
It's my heart. So be gone with your bad vibes. This life's a state of mind. They talk the talk, but we walk the walk. They tell us that we're wrong, but we stay mellow, living this life like rebels. Don't give them the time of day. We stay away, yeah, we're pushing through the struggle. But the voices in the shadows, they echo. Everybody stops and stares at what